Many years ago, in a city known as Lagos, there lived a young man named Babajide. Babajide was a lawyer and was doing really well for himself. Everyone wanted him to handle their case because he was a damn good lawyer. Everyone knew that no matter how difficult their case was, if Babajide handled it, they were definitely going to win. And so this gave him a lot of popularity and he gained a lot of clients and was paid really well for his services. So in just a few years of practicing after being called to the Nigerian Bar Association, Babajide had made a lot of money. He was super rich. However, despite how rich Babajide was, he looked and behaved like a poor man. He was very stingy, not just to others, but to himself also. He never spent his money on himself. He did not buy good clothes, did not eat good food, and neither did he live a quality life. Babajide also never gave people around him money, not his parents, his friends, or people in need, even if they were dying. Instead, Babajide would save every kobo and naira that he had. Babajide had millions of naira in his account. He was also obsessed with buying lands and building everywhere. In his city, Lagos alone, he had up to 70 plots of land and 35 buildings. And he had several lands scattered across several cities. Yet, Babajide would not spend money on himself. He would not cook food or hire a chef because he had done the maths and discovered that it was more expensive. So instead, Babajide would every morning, before going to court, rather than going to a decent restaurant at least, he would go to a local restaurant on the streets, those type that you could not vouch for their hygiene, to buy food, just because he knew it was cheaper. Babajide never even bought meat with his food every day. He rationed the days that he was to eat meat. Babajide would also always drive around with a dirty car because he would always refuse to take it to a decent car wash for them to wash it because he thought that it was too expensive, despite the money that he made. Instead, he would wash it by himself anytime he had a little chance. Babajide was always looking for ways to save money. It was so bad that even when his favorite bathing soap, called Wash Me Clean, increased the cost of their products from 300 naira to 350 naira, Babajide stopped bathing with that bathing soap and started using a washing soap meant for washing clothes to take his bath just because he wanted to save money. Everyone that knew him was tired of him. Even Babajide's aged parents and siblings had all given up on him because although their son and brother was stupendously rich, it did not matter because Babajide would not give them any money. At some point, his whole family had done 7 days prayer and fasting to pray for their son and brother so that he would become generous. The prayer seemed to have yielded results, as on the last day of the prayer and fasting, they were surprised to see Babajide in the family house. He came back home unannounced, and as he saw his parents and siblings seated in the parlor, he just dashed each and every one of them 10,000 naira each and left back for the city. His parents and siblings all danced and rejoiced. They were so happy, thinking that their prayers have been answered at last. They thought that God had finally heard them and answered their prayers. They were right, because God answered their prayers concerning Babajide, but it was momentarily, as that was the last time Babajide gave them money in a very long time. The list of what Babajide has done is endless. He was just a very stingy and selfish human being. Everyone, I mean everyone had finally given up on him. They talked about him and even laughed at him, even his own staff. But Babajide did not care. Some said that he had a mental problem, while others said that he did ritual money and was told that he could not spend the ritual money on himself. There were a lot of theories and speculations flying up and down about why Babajide behaved the way he did. But he literally did not care. The only thing that mattered to him and gave him joy was law. Babajide loved being a lawyer. He did not see anything wrong with his behavior. After all, he was simply buying lands and building and making other investments so that he would not suffer in his old age. He had opened several types of businesses, and he did not think that there was anything wrong with his action or anything wrong with him. However, what most people did not know was that Babajide came from a very poor family, and growing up was very difficult for him and his family. They always lived at the mercy of strangers. Their situation was so bad that even the poor called them poor. Everyone had to hustle to eat in a day. If they wanted to eat, the children had to hire themselves out as laborers, sometimes in people's farms and other times in the home of the rich. Nothing his parents ever did prospered. It was as though his parents were under a curse. So Babajide would always speak to himself every morning and say, I will never be poor in life. I will have so much money. I will buy several lands. I will build houses. I would amass a lot of wealth. I will be stupendously rich. And the fear of poverty became Babajide's driving force. It had conditioned his mind and made him put in his best in his studies, and that was how he won several scholarships and was able to go to school and become a lawyer. Babajide had been scarred at a tender age and had not dealt with his childhood trauma, and this was what has been haunting him all these years, yet he did not know it. One day, Babajide sat in his home thinking. He was taking stock of his life's achievements, how he was not just a lawyer, but a prominent one, a damn good one in Lagos. He had over 100 plots of land, 40 buildings, several businesses. He felt it was time to get married and start up a family. So he decided to actively start looking for a wife. A few months later, Babajide met a very pretty lady named Ada. She had just graduated from the university and had not started working. She was very beautiful and pleasant, so Babajide fell in love with her very quickly. Ada, on the other hand, got attracted to Babajide because he was very handsome, but she was worried and skeptical about getting married to him because he was very stingy. She noticed that Babajide would always call her out for them to take long walks. He would not even drive as he would want to save fuel. He would never take her to a restaurant for them to sit, eat and talk so they get to know each other better. Instead, they were always taking long walks to spend time and bond. She also noticed that Babajide had never bought her a gift at all since they started dating. Ada was very disturbed by his actions. Yes, she was attracted to Babajide because he was handsome, but she had grown to love him because he was intelligent and was actually very sweet. But she was not sure she wanted to marry such a stingy man. She had spent so much on Babajide already, despite the fact that she was not working. She had gotten him several gifts, yet Babajide had never spent a dime on her. One day, after thinking long and hard, she decided to call off their relationship. So that day, when Babajide had called her for them to trek around their city in the guise of bonding, Ada broke the silence and said, Babajide, I'm not sure that I can continue with this relationship. I love you very much, yes, But I cannot be with a man who does not give. Since we started dating, you have never bought a gift for me, not even once. You have never taken me out. Instead, we will just be trekking around Ogba in the guise of bonding. I have lost almost 5 kg already because of our trekking. I'm sorry, I cannot continue with this relationship, Ada said. Don't say that, please, Ada. I am so sorry. I would change, I promise you. I cannot afford to lose you. Please, I love you. Just give me one more chance, Babajide said, pleading. Well, I'm not promising you anything yet, but I'll give you a few months. If you do not change, then this relationship or whatever we are doing here is over, Ada said firstly, and Babatunde thanked her profusely. So the following day, after the close of work, Babajide came to visit Ada in her home again. This time he did not trek as usual. Instead, he drove to her house and also did not come empty-handed this time. He came bearing gifts. He came with 300 naira suya and a chilled bottle of Coke. But he didn't buy any for himself. He simply watched Ada while she ate the suya and drank the Coke in his vehicle. After a while, they drove round town, but with the windows wind down so as to save fuel. When they got back to Ada's house, Ada looked at Babatunde and said, "Thank you. Thank you for putting an effort. I hope things continue to get better. Hopefully, next time, you would also buy suya and Coke for yourself too," Ada said, laughing. Babajide was so happy and promised to improve and do better. A few months later, Babajide expressed his strong desire to marry Ada. "Ada, I want us to get married. I really love you. Please, would you marry me?" Babatunde asked as they sat in his car. "Yes, I will marry you," Ada said, laughing. And with that, they both laughed and were very happy. However, later that night, Ada could not sleep. She was so worried. So she walked up to her mom and said, "Mom, there is something I would really love to speak to you about. Babajide asked me to marry him and I said yes, but I am very worried because he's a very stingy man even to himself. Although he improved a bit when I complained to him, but I am afraid that it is just temporary. I'm afraid of getting married to him so I don't suffer, but then I love him as well," Ada said sadly. "My daughter, Babajide is a good man, and he's intelligent too, and he loves you. I think you should go ahead and marry him. Some men do not spend on themselves, but you see their wives and children. That is where all their money goes to. That is where their money used to finish. Besides, he may not be spending so much on you now because you're not yet his wife. But you'll see that when you get married to him, all that will change. Besides, Babajide is a multi-millionaire. All these houses and lands that he has, it's going to be for you and your children. You're the ones that will enjoy it." Immediately, Ada's mother Uchenna stood up and started dancing and said, "You will become an Oriaku. You will be sitting on wealth. Adam, Unyo Odogo. Congratulations, Jare," Ada's mother replied. Are you sure? Are you sure, Mom?" Ada said, asking unsure. "Will I lie to you? My daughter, Unyo Odogo, Unye barrister, the wife of the best barrister in town, the wife of a multi-millionaire, Oriako. Relax, Jare. Don't worry now. You will thank me. You will thank me for this," Ada's mother replied, trying to reassure her daughter to marry Babajide. And they both laughed heartily. And a few weeks later, preparations began earnestly for Babajide and Ada's wedding. Babajide complained about everything. He complained about the prices of everything, from the price of the wedding gown to the decoration to food to makeup to hair to every single thing. They quarreled a lot. Ada was getting frustrated and even threatened to call off the wedding before Babajide grudgingly gave her all the monies that she requested. Uchenna, Ada's mother, continued to reassure Ada throughout the wedding preparation to be patient with Babajide, reminding her of what she gets to inherit by getting married to Babajide, and telling her that she had to endure now for the sake of her future. So in a few weeks, the wedding finally took place and it was a huge success. Babajide and Ada were really happy and were really in love. Babajide loved Ada especially. Everyone was so happy for them. But a few weeks later, after they got married, Babajide could no longer help or pretend again. His true colors had started coming out each time Ada asked for money to do one or two things in the house. One day, Ada walked up to Babajide and said, "Babe, please, I need to go to the market to buy foodstuff. I need to cook soups and stew, and I think I need about 180,000 naira." Ada said lovingly, "Eh? 180,000 naira? For what? For soup and stew? It's too much now, Ada. Eh? You must learn to manage. 180,000 naira is what both my secretary and my staff, two of my staff, earns together in one full month. And that is what you want to spend in one day on food. Haba, it's too much." Babajide responded firstly, "It is not even enough. Oh. Besides, I'm cooking 5 different soups and 3 different stews. We don't have any food stuff at home. So I would literally have to buy everything from stockfish to meat to egusi, tomatoes, maggi, salt, onions. 180k is not enough. I would even have to manage it. You know, everything is now expensive in the market." Ada replied. And this is how they quarreled about everything, from money to stock the house for food, or money for Ada to buy personal items for herself, or even money to make her hair. Babajide felt that Ada was too extravagant. Ada, on the other hand, was getting very frustrated. Sometimes she would call her mom to report Babajide. "Mama, I'm tired though. I'm suffering in this house. I have not eaten chicken in over 3 months. I want to come back home. We eat rice only once in 3 weeks, and we can only eat it with ordinary egg. Mama, I'm tired. How can I be in the midst of plenty and yet be hungry? Mom, I'm looking haggard. I have not made my hair in over 2 months. I'm coming home," Ada said, crying. And her mother, Uchenna, would comfort her, telling her to be patient with her husband. And sometimes she would even send Ada some money to use in supporting herself. But at some point, Ada got frustrated. She even stopped calling her mom. She was just tired. She was tired of everything. Nobody seemed to understand her. She just began to pray fervently that God would change her husband. She blamed herself for marrying Babatunde despite seeing all the red flags. She knew that she loved him very much, but she could not continue to suffer like this. A few weeks later, Ada found out that she was pregnant. Babajide was so happy when she shared the news with him. They were both very happy. Ada thought that things would change now, but she was wrong. Babajide was still very stingy to Ada. Even when she requested for money to buy clothes for their baby that was on the way, Babajide gave her very little money and told her to go to Okrika market and buy fairly used clothes, despite how rich they were. Nothing Babajide could do at this point could ever shock Ada again. She had been shocked beyond her limits. She just managed whatever Babajide gave her, hoping that after putting to bed, she would get a good job so she could at least take care of herself and her baby. A few months later, Ada gave birth to a bouncing baby boy. She was so happy. Babajide too, they were both very happy. "So I am now a father," Babajide said excitedly. By the following day, Uchenna, Ada's mother, had come for Omugwo with the intention of staying for 6 months to look after her daughter Ada and the newborn baby. In Igbo land, Nigeria, when a woman gives birth, her mother would usually come over to her home to help her take care of the new baby and to nurture the mother back to health, while teaching the mother how to care for a newborn baby. And that is what we call in Igbo land Omugo. But the length of time at which the mother would stay in her daughter's home varies from home to home. But for Ada, barely after spending 4 weeks in Ada's house, Uchenna, Ada's mother, began to see all that her daughter had been complaining about. She saw that Babajide was very stingy. Every single thing in the house was rationed, especially food. Even the baby's formula was rationed. Uchenna had never seen this type of thing before. So she called her daughter one day and said, Ada, my daughter, is this what you have been going through? Hi, how are you surviving? Oh, I'm so sorry, my daughter. I'm so sorry for misleading you into marrying such a stingy man. Since I came to this your house, I have lost weight. My clothes are now very loose and free on me. You have to do something about it though. I have not seen or eaten meat since I came to your house, and this is not funny. Are you sure your husband does not have spiritual problem? Because tell me how a man can be so stingy to himself. All this while, I thought you were exaggerating. Chai, nay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for encouraging you to marry him, Uchenna said sadly. Mama, it's okay. Oh, it is what it is. I have resigned myself to my fate, to living in penury, even though my husband is a wealthy man, Ada said sadly. However, 3 weeks later, Uchenna, Ada's mother, packed her bags and left. She left Babajide and Ada's house. She could not continue suffering with her daughter in her husband's house, when her own mates in her home were feasting and dining. She had initially planned to stay for Omugo for 6 months, but was leaving in less than 2 months. Ada tried to beg her mother to stay longer to help her with the baby, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. Uchenna advised her daughter before leaving and said, do something, do something about your husband. This stinginess is too much, and if he does not want to change, pack your bags and come back home with your son. Not let hunger kill you here. The mates in your father's house eat better than you. If you are tired, come back home, Uchenna said as she left their home. Ada felt so heartbroken. Her mother's leaving her house was the last straw that broke the camel's back. Ada was tired of being an understanding wife. She began to pray to God fervently to change her husband. She was tired. She was tired of living like this. So one day, Babatunde was coming back from work when he had a car accident. He was immediately rushed to the hospital, and a few hours later, Ada had been informed that her husband had been rushed to the hospital. So she went to the hospital with her baby. She was told that her husband was in surgery. Ada was very afraid. She begged God to spare her husband's life. After a few hours, the doctor announced to Ada that the surgery was successful, but that her husband, Babajide, was still unconscious and in coma, and they did not know how long he was going to be unconscious. Ada wept and wept. She prayed to God to save her husband. She was not ready to become a widow. So every day, Ada would go to the hospital and sit beside her husband while he laid unconscious and beg him to please come back to life. But days turned to weeks and weeks into many weeks. Yet Babajide was still in coma. Ada had to move on with her life. Her husband had a lot of real estate and several businesses aside his law practice that needed to be handled, as a lot of people had started coming to her to ask her for instructions on what they needed to do. They needed her to step into the big shoes that Babajide had left while he was unconscious. So Ada started administering her husband's estate and several businesses. And that was when she discovered how wealthy her husband truly was. From the several properties that he owned, Rent poured in at least twice every week in tens of millions. Ada was shocked. It was insane. So, all this while they had been suffering, her husband had this kind of money. The first week alone, she had recovered over 20 million naira. Just the first week. Ada was flabbergasted. She first of all went to a high-end restaurant with her son and ordered different delicacies and ate to her heart's fill. And after that, she went to a boutique and shopped for herself and her son. She bought wigs, shoes, skincare products. She even went to the spa. She went to cool off from all the suffering she had endured in the past 1 year plus. In 4 weeks, Ada had transferred over 100 million naira of her husband's money to her account. She had even hired a chef and maids. She was living the baby girl life. She made sure that she ate chicken every day. Ada was living so large. She had even put on some weight. Her skin was glowing. Her skin was skinning. She was now enjoying the real title Wunye Odogo. It was now that she was the real Wunye Odogo. Ada even called her husband's parents and siblings and gave them 20 million naira each. They were all very happy. Ada knew how much she had suffered in just 2 years of being married to Babajide. Not to talk of his parents and siblings who have been with him longer than her. She knew that they must have really suffered even more. So they were so happy and thanked Ada profusely. Ada also sent her parents money. Everyone was happy. She even increased her husband's staff salaries because she felt that they had suffered too, just like her. At a point, Ada did not even know if she wanted her husband to regain consciousness. So it was already 5 months of him being in coma, and the lives of everyone around him had changed. But then, Ada loved her husband, so she prayed to God to restore him. After all, she had over 400 million naira of her husband's money in her account and other personal investments that she had made. So even if Babajide regains consciousness, she could never be broke. At least she could never be hungry. However, her husband's parents, siblings, and staff were not so eager about Babajide coming out of coma, as they had benefited more from his unconsciousness than when he was conscious. Ada discovered that with the kind of money that her husband made, none of them ever needed to work a day in their lives, as her husband had made so much investments that brought in millions of naira weekly. She seriously hoped and prayed that when her husband recovered, that he would change and relax and live a quality life rather than hoarding money and being stingy even to himself. One day, Ada was at home when she received a call from the hospital. Babajide was awake after 6 months of being in a coma. Ada quickly rushed to the hospital excitedly. She hugged her husband and said, "Oh baby, you're back. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus," Ada said as she shouted, kissing her husband and hugging him. She was so glad to have him back. Babajide was grateful to be alive. He was so glad to be conscious. But he couldn't help but notice that his wife had become very beautiful. She was looking very good. Her skin was glowing. A few days after, Babajide was discharged, and he was even more surprised to see the changes at home. His house now looked very beautiful. All the furniture and interior in the house had been redone. He was surprised to see that they now even had maids, and that the fridge was filled with goodies. Even his kitchen was filled with food. His wife and son looked elegant and wealthy. They were looking fatter. Ha! His parents and siblings had even come to visit him after hearing that he was conscious. His parents even looked very well. They looked better than the last time he saw them. Everybody just looked good. He noticed they were not so happy to see him, although they all faked a smile. Babajide realized that they were all better off when he was gone, as his wife had really spent his money, not just on herself, but on all his family members, his staff, taking care of everybody. And everybody was truly happier when he was away. And now that he was back, they did not know their fates, whether they were going back to live a life of misery and penury. Babajide learnt a very valuable lesson. All this while he was busy working, saving, building, and investing money, and not spending his money on himself. Yet, in just 6 months of being sick, his next of kin had spent over 100 million naira and diverted over 400 million naira. Now he wished that he had spent his money on himself. He vowed that going forward, he was going to be generous to himself and to his family and to everyone around him. After all, what is the essence of having money if you cannot spend it? Hi, besties. Thank you for watching my story to the end again. So, I would love to know, do you know anyone who is as selfish as Babajide, that cannot even spend their own money, like money they worked for, on themselves? What do you think would be the cause? Please share your thoughts with me in the comment section. Could it be jazz, childhood trauma, fear of poverty? Please let me know. If you have come this far and you have not yet subscribed to my channel, what are you waiting for? Please support your homegirl, Omalicha, by subscribing to my channel, and to my ever supportive, loyal subscribers. I see you guys. Thank you so much for all the love and the support so far. I really do appreciate. Now, till I come your way again with more interesting stories, bye.